Hello there, YouTube and YouTubers. Today we're coming at you with the top 5 best red comments in Kaldheim. But before we do get to our top 5 best comments, I'd quickly like to talk to you about our grading skill we got over there. As you can see, our grading skill goes from 0 to 100. At 0 to 35 we got cards that are not that strong. It's probably better if you're playing one more land than your deck normally would use. Then at 35 to 60 we got most of the comments. So these are the fairly decent comments till the, well, almost pretty good comments. So 35 to 60 are the comments. Then from 60 to 80 we got the very best comments, good uncommons and rather okay rares. Then 80 to 90 are our best rares. And then at 90 to 100 we got cards that if you play them, if you get to cast them, and they don't immediately get answered, they should make you win, and sometimes even these cards, even if they do immediately get answered, should still make you win the game. So those are the very best cards. Of course, because this is the top 5 commons of the set, we're going to hope that most of our cards are in the 60 to 80 range, but you shouldn't have to be surprised if some of our best commons are still somewhere close to 60. Anyway, red in this set is, of course, a pretty aggressive color, but as opposed to many sets we've had before, red is better at still fighting in the middle to late game. Anyway, let's quickly go and take a look. Here comes our number 5 common. Run Amok, our number 5 red common. It's of course a very aggressive card. In fact, the card even says that it only works when you're attacking. As you can see, if you do place it into an aggro deck, it will immediately go towards 64 score, which is of course in the good uncommons range. In previous sets we've already had Run Amok, and in those sets Run Amok usually was not that much of a good card. The reason why it's so much better in Kaldheim than it is in many other situations where we get to use it is because creatures in this set are 1/1, 2/2 or 3/3. Everything bigger than a 3/3 is already a very big creature. So being allowed to give +3/+3 to one of your creatures will immediately take it from a fair fight to a 1 fight. As you can also see, Run Amok does have some synergies in the set. We've written down Evasion and First Strike because those two abilities make it so that your opponent already is doing a bit of an awkward block, and then getting the chance to trick them with a Run Amok makes their somewhat awkward block into a very bad block, which is of course very beneficial for you as the attacker. But the synergy is not that big. So Run Amok is the most important thing to do is just putting it in an aggressive deck, and then if you happen to have some synergies with it, that's a nice little bonus, but it's not really something you're building for while drafting. I've written down that the sideboard part of Run Amok, if you're playing a best of 3 format and you've won game 1, there might be a reason for you to not play Run Amok in game number 2. The reason is that your opponent, of course, gets to play first, and there's a higher chance of you not being allowed to attack, or you needing to recover a bit. In those situations, if you have a card in your sideboard which is already almost as good as Run Amok, there might be a good reason to switch those 2 cards out. The combination of Run Amok with Struggle for Scamfar is sometimes quite interesting. You can attack with a small creature, then your opponent may want to block with a decently sized creature, and you may even be allowed to kill 1 extra creature on their side, which is very big, or sometimes you attack with a 2/2, they block with a 2/2, you put a Run Amok on your creature, it of course takes 2 damage, leaving it with 3 points of toughness left, then you struggle a 3/3 on their side, hey, your creature had 3, but the struggle added 1 extra, you took 3 damage from the other creature, now you got to kill a 2/2 and a 3/3 for 2 of your cards. Sure, but you also did some good damage and your creature grew permanently. Let's go to the number 4 common. Hey, look at that, it's Squash. I'll be honest, when the format started, I didn't expect Squash to be a good card. I in fact expected it to be quite, well, hard to play. I had in my mind that Giants would cost 4 or 5 mana, and then wow, on turn 5 you get to cast a 5 mana spell for 2 mana instead of its normal 5 cost, which is nice I suppose, but it's already turn 5, so who cares all that much? Well, as it turns out, there are quite a few cheap giants in the set, and the Squash really works well with them. So what are the cheap giants? Well, we have, of course, Agar, the cheapest of the giants. Only 3 mana, and it combines extremely well with Squash. Often, in turn 4, you will get to untap, kill one of their creatures. It will likely not have 6 toughness, so you'll get to draw a card through Agar's ability, and then you get to attack with Agar itself. So you've killed one of their creatures, drawn a card, and attacked them for 3. So Agar Squash, of course, very strong. But even with Mistwalker, Guardian Cladewalker, and the Masked Vandal, those are all giants because of their Changeling ability, and they're very cheap. Being allowed to cast Squash on turn 3 or 4 is very strong. We've also written down that it kills everything. I stand by this. The largest creatures in this format are Linda the Lindworm. It's a green card. It's 6 mana 6/6, which gains you 4 life when you play it. Biggest creature in the set. The card is also playable without giants in play. Then it does go down quite a bit in its strength, but still it's playable. A 5 mana destroy any creature somewhat unconditionally is still pretty good. And I would say that even if your deck has like only 3 or maybe 4 giants or changelings, which are interchangeable, still the Squash will be a pretty good card. It does go up quite a bit if you have some synergy in your deck, so say you have 3 changelings or you have 3 changelings and a giant. But even without synergies, the card is quite playable, and I would say that if you ever have to first pick this card, you shouldn't have to be all that disappointed. Here comes our number 3. Hey look, it's a scary Firewalker. It's our first creature on the top 5 commons in red. I really like this card. I think I like it maybe even more than most people do, because I really like that the scary Firewalker in a way can make sure that you find the lands you need. One of the best things to do is attack with this while you haven't played a land yet, use the boast ability, and then find a land through its own ability. But even if you find cheap combat tricks through its ability, it's very nice to do. As you can see, it has a score of 65 and 65 in both aggro and control, so no matter the kind of deck you're building in red, it's always going to be quite good. It does have some synergies. I personally really like to combine the Scary Firewalker with Evasion, for instance Wings of the Cosmos or the Raven Wings. But even if you don't have them, this card is always going to be quite good. Here comes our number 2 common. Look at that, it's the Tormentors Helm. You know what, didn't I already promise you that red had some pretty good mid-range late game? Well, the Tormentors Helm sure does help with that. Look at that score. Aggro 72, control 53. Sure, it's not that high in control, but man, even in control this card is playable. But in aggro, this is at the level of a very, very good uncommon. I think this is one of the strongest red commons we've seen in a very long time. What makes this card so good? Well, it really likes playing with an aggressive deck with many creatures. So what do we mean with many creatures? Well, a card that by itself produces 2 creatures in some way. You can see the Death Knell Berserker and the Dwarven Reinforcements. Both of them, when combined with the Tormentor's Helm, are really strong. Funnily enough, both of those cards without Tormentor's Helm get quite a bit less good. So there's a good synergy between the Tormentor's Helm and those 2 cards. There's something that I recently found out that I hadn't really thought about before that, but which is somewhat significant, is that Tormentor's Helm works quite good with lifelink. Why is that? Well, lifelink creatures like getting more power. The Tormentor's Helm makes sure it does. And also, when your creature does become locked, the creature itself deals 1 damage to the defending player. So that's 1 extra point of life you will be gaining. I would say the Tormentor's Helm is the second best, well, honestly speaking, non-rare equipment in the set. And that's even including all of the living weapons, so all the uncommon equipment that come into play and then create a token when you pay some extra mana. If you play an aggressive deck and you have 3 Tormentor's Helm, I expect you're going to get a lot of wins. But what could be even better than Tormentor's Helm? Let's go to number 1. Here's our number 1, Demon Bolt. Probably the best removal in the set. As you can see, it has a very high score, 68 in aggro, 70 in control. One of those cards that's very easy to first pick, even if you're just going to be picking a common. After first picking a Demon Bolt, your deck can go anyway, as in it's very easy to play this card in an entirely different deck. So say you have a blue-white deck, and you're just splashing like 2 or 3 red sources. Hey, a Demon Bolt fits in that deck. That deck needs a bit of removal. but even if you're just playing main red, the card will always be good. Is it better in aggro or in control? Well, it's great in both. Sure, it's slightly better in control. No matter what, this card will be pretty great. We've written down that the card is big enough. Well, I stand by that. As we said earlier in this video, most creatures in the set are 1/1, 2/2, or 3/3, and occasionally you will find 4/4s as well. Some of the giants, some of the trolls are that size. But hey, it kills every one of those. Sure, it can't kill Lind with a Lindworm, but we've got other cards to do that. It's a very efficient spell. With 3 mana and also its foretell ability, you can very often make it cost immediately 3 to kill something which cost the opponent 4 or 5 mana, gaining you a bit of mana. And sometimes even through its foretell ability, you've already spent 2 mana on a turn where you otherwise would be doing nothing, and then you later on get to play it for 1 more mana, making it feel as if you've only paid 1 or maybe 2 mana in total to cast the Demon Bolt. Personally, I think it's a great card. You should very often pick it over uncommons or bad rares. When you're playing red in this set, as opposed to other sets, I would say that it doesn't really matter if you're playing aggro or control, both will work, as long as you do have equipments in it to push the later game. Even in your aggro deck you will want equipments. Because of cards like Demon Bolt and Squash, there are very many different decks you can make with red, which is of course great because that hasn't always been the case. Normally we would expect red to only be aggressive, but here in Kaldheim we have the luxury of being allowed to play a mid-range deck with red, or maybe even a late-game deck with red. I like red, I like it a lot, I hope you do too. If you find that this video helped you in some way, one or the other, please leave a like on the video. If you like to, please leave a comment as well, and I hope you have a lot of success with drafting red. On the channel, if you subscribe, you will find many other videos about Magic the Gathering, be it either the top 5 commons in other colors of Kaldheim, or videos more about learning Magic in general. Some videos we make are more for beginners, while are for more experienced players. Anyway, I hope you have a look around, I hope you have fun with Magic the Gathering, and I also hope to be seeing you around.